Resource allocation in economic systems is the topic of this lecture. Every society has to answer three questions. What goods and services should be produced? How should these goods and services be produced? Who consumes these goods and services? And the way these questions are answered determines the economic system. So an economic system is the method used by a society to produce and distribute goods and services. There's three different types of economic systems: a command economy, which is centrally planned, a free market economy, and then a mixed economy. A centrally planned economy, such as communism, in this type of economy, the government owns all the resources. They answer the three economic questions. So examples of countries with this economic system are Cuba, North Korea, the former Soviet Union, and China. Why do centrally planned economies face problems of poor quality of goods, shortages, and unhappy citizens? It has to do with incentives. There's little incentive to work harder, and central planners have a hard time predicting preferences. So, what are the advantages and disadvantages? Um, what's good, so to speak, about communism? Low unemployment, great job security, less income inequality, and quote unquote free health care. What's bad about communism? There's no incentive to work harder. There's no incentive to innovate or come up with the latest and greatest. No competition, which keeps the quality of goods poor, and corrupt leaders, and few individual freedoms. There's a link in my PowerPoint slides if you'd like to view this video on a food shortage in Venezuela. A free market system, capitalism. Characteristics are little government involvement, individuals own resources and answer the three economic questions. There's an opportunity to make profit that gives people incentive to produce quality items efficiently. There's a wide variety of goods available to consumers, and competition and self-interest work together to regulate the economy. An example of how the free market would regulate itself. Say consumers want smartphones and only one company is making them. Other businesses have the incentive to start making smartphones to earn profit. This is going to lead to more competition, which means lower prices, better quality, and more product variety. We produce the goods and services that society wants because resources follow the profits. And the end result is the most efficient production of the goods that consumers want, produced at the lowest prices and the highest quality. So why would communism fail? Let's say consumers want smartphones, but there's only one company that's making it. Other businesses cannot start making the computers that make the phones work. So there's no competition, which means there's higher prices, lower quality, and less product variety. More phones will not be made until the government decides to create a new factory. So the end result is there's a shortage of goods that consumers want, produced at the highest prices in the lowest quantity. Again, here's an article you can take a look at if you that's linked in the PowerPoint slides. So let's imagine that a farmer sets his prices early in the morning. As customers come in, they make purchases that benefit themselves. If apples are priced too high, they're not going to sell. After a few hours of poor apple sales, the farmer may choose to lower the price. Apples will sell. Customers are happy and the farmer's happy. So producers and consumers are acting in their own self-interest and making adjustments automatically. The invisible hand is the concept that society's goals will be met as individuals seek their own self-interest. So if society wants fuel-efficient cars, profit-seeking producers are going to make more. Competition between firms results in low prices, high quality, and greater efficiency. The government doesn't need to get involved since the needs of society are automatically met. Competition and self-interest act as an invisible hand that regulates the free market. Mixed economies. A mixed economy has a system with free markets, but also some government intervention. Almost all countries, including the US, have mixed economies. Here's a question from the 2012 AP exam. So if you read this over, you want to pause the video and think about what the answer is. The answer would be A. Productivity creates wealth. Countries with free markets, property rights, and the rule of law have historically seen greater economic growth. So over here, less resources on the left, you're going to have less output. More developed countries have more sophisticated resources and thus more output. Take a look at this picture, aerial view, and look at North and South Korea. The difference between North and South Korea's GDP is 13 billion for North Korea and 1.6 trillion for South Korea. You can view this link in my PowerPoint slides. How much money would you need to give up the internet? Also, this is an interesting video on incentives and how incentives can have an adverse consequence to policy actions. Here's a slide that represents countries that are considered or lean towards pure or more command economies versus pure market economies. And you can see where the US falls within this continuum. The circular flow model is a concept that's more covered in macroeconomics than microeconomics, but it's useful to at least be introduced to it in microeconomics. So the product market is the place where goods and services produced by businesses are sold to households. The resource or the factor market is the place where resources, land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship are sold to businesses. So here's an illustration of what we call the circular flow, how goods and services and money change hands between all of the players in the circular flow. And then we have the government as well, collecting tax dollars, and then the government redistributing or also spending money in the resource market as well as the product market. You have public goods and private goods as well. The private sector is the part of the economy that's run by individuals and businesses. The public sector is the part that's controlled by the government. Factor payments are payments for the factors of production, so rent, wages, interest, and profit. And transfer payments occur when the government redistributes income through welfare and Social Security are two examples. Subsidies refer to a government payout to a business. And here's a question from a 2012 AP exam. So if you want to pause the video and think about this, and the answer would be C. So to review the circular flow model, do individuals supply or demand? They do both. Do businesses supply or demand? They also do both. Who demands in the product market? Individuals and the government. And who supplies in the product market is businesses.